Here's something that'll blow your mind. She made the decision about whether to sleep with you within the first 20 minutes of meeting you. Not when you're kissing, not when you're back at your place. Not in some heated moment of passion. She decided way earlier. And it had nothing to do with your pickup lines, your cologne, or how much money you spent on dinner. Psychology reveals that women run a subconscious evaluation system that most men are completely blind to. And today I'm going to expose exactly how this hidden process works. Because once you understand it, everything changes. Most guys think attraction is about being charming, funny, or impressive. They focus on what they're saying, what they're doing, how they look. But here's the reality. Women aren't evaluating your performance. They're evaluating your essence. There's a silent psychological checklist running in her mind from the moment she meets you. It's not conscious. She's not sitting there thinking, let me see if this guy passes my tests. It's happening at a deeper level, evolutionary, instinctual, primal. In the next 12 minutes, I'm going to reveal 6 psychological triggers that determine whether she sees you as a potential lover or just another guy. These aren't manipulation tactics. They're insights into genuine attraction psychology that can transform how you show up in the world. Because here's the truth. When you understand what she's really looking for, you don't have to try so hard. You just have to be the right kind of man. Here's the first thing her subconscious mind is evaluating. How do you handle tension? Picture this scenario. You're talking and suddenly there's an awkward pause. The conversation dies. Most guys immediately panic and start word vomiting to fill the silence. They'll say anything, joke, compliment, random observation, just to make the uncomfortable moment go away. But here's what's really happening in that moment. She's watching to see if you can stay grounded when things get uncomfortable. Because sexual intimacy, it's built on comfort with discomfort. It's about being present with vulnerability, tension, and the unknown. When you panic at a simple conversational pause, her brain registers, this man can't handle pressure. How could he handle the intensity of intimacy? But when you stay calm, maybe even smile at the silence, something powerful happens. You demonstrate what psychologists call distress tolerance and the ability to stay present with uncomfortable emotions without immediately trying to escape them. I remember working with a client, let's call him David. He was successful, good-looking, but women would lose interest after the first few dates. The problem? He couldn't tolerate any moment of uncertainty or awkwardness. He would fill every pause, explain every joke, smooth over every rough edge. When he learned to breathe through the discomfort, to let moments exist without rushing to fix them, everything shifted. Women started describing him as mysterious and confident, when really he had just learned to be comfortable with being uncomfortable. This isn't about being silent or aloof. It's about having the inner security to not need every moment to be perfect. Because when she feels that you can handle tension, her mind codes you as someone who could handle the vulnerability that comes with letting you close. Here's the second psychological trigger. How do you treat people who can't do anything for you? And no, this isn't just about being nice to waiters, though that matters too. It goes deeper. She's watching how your energy shifts when you interact with people who have no power, no status, nothing to offer you. Do you maintain the same warmth with the parking attendant as you do with her? Do you speak to children with the same respect you show adults? When someone makes a mistake that inconveniences you, does your mask slip? Here's why this matters psychologically. Women are constantly evaluating long-term safety. Not just physical safety, but emotional safety. Her subconscious is asking, what happens when the charm phase ends? What happens when I'm not the center of his attention anymore? How does he treat people when no one's watching? A subtle shift in your tone with someone who can't benefit you reveals your true character, and her brain is designed to pick up on these micro-signals. I know a guy who lost a woman's interest in one evening because of how he spoke to the coat check person. Not rude, not mean, just dismissive. That tiny interaction told her everything she needed to know about who he really was underneath the dating persona. But here's the flip side. When you maintain genuine warmth and respect regardless of who you're talking to, it sends a powerful message. It says you're not performing kindness for her benefit, you're genuinely a man of character. This triggers what evolutionary psychologists call mate value assessment. She's not just evaluating you as a lover, She's evaluating you as a potential partner, father, long-term protector, and that evaluation happens largely through these seemingly insignificant interactions. The man who treats everyone with basic human dignity isn't just being nice. He's demonstrating the kind of consistent character that makes a woman feel safe, lowering her defenses. Here's the third psychological trigger, and it's one most men completely miss: your relationship with your own body. This has absolutely nothing to do with how you look. It's about how you inhabit your physical space. Are you comfortable in your own skin, or are you constantly trying to escape it? Watch most men in social situations. They're fidgeting, adjusting, apologizing for taking up space. Sorry, is this seat okay? I hope I'm not in your way. Sorry for being so tall. They're unconsciously communicating discomfort with their own existence. But attraction happens in the body first, then the mind. If you're not comfortable with your own physicality, how can she be comfortable getting physical with you? This is what psychologists call embodied confidence. It's not about standing up straight or having good posture, though those don't hurt. It's about moving through the world without apology, occupying space naturally, being present in your body rather than trying to escape it. A woman's subconscious mind is constantly reading your relationship with your physicality because it tells her everything about your relationship with pleasure, comfort, and intimacy. The man who apologizes for his height will apologize for his desires. The man who hides his body will hide his passion. I worked with a successful lawyer who couldn't understand why women weren't attracted to him. Objectively, he had everything going for him, but he moved through the world like he was apologizing for existing. His shoulders were always slightly hunched. He spoke quietly. He made himself smaller in every room he entered. The breakthrough came when he realized this wasn't about his body. It was about his relationship with taking up space, with being seen, with existing without permission. When he started owning his physical presence, women's responses changed immediately. Here's the key insight. Embodied confidence isn't loud or aggressive. It's the quiet assurance of a man who knows he belongs wherever he is. It's moving through the world without constantly seeking permission to exist. When she feels that you're comfortable in your own body, her mind registers safety. Because the man who's at peace with his physicality is the man who can create physical safety and pleasure for her. Here's the fourth psychological trigger: your ability to surprise her mind. Most men think they need to be consistent and predictable to build trust. But here's the paradox. While women need emotional consistency, they crave intellectual unpredictability. They want to know you're stable, but they don't want to know exactly what you're going to say next. Think about it. If she can predict every comment, every reaction, every story you're going to tell, where's the intrigue? Where's the mystery that keeps her mind engaged? This is where most nice guys lose women's interest. They're so focused on being agreeable and safe that they become completely predictable. Every conversation follows the same pattern. Every date has the same energy. There are no surprises, no moments of, I didn't expect him to say that. But the man who can reframe her perspective with an unexpected insight, who asks questions she's never been asked, who sees the world through a lens she hasn't considered, that man becomes fascinating. I'm not talking about being random or inconsistent with your values. I'm talking about intellectual depth and genuine curiosity that leads to surprising observations about life, people, experiences. Let me give you an example. Most men would respond to "I love this restaurant" with "Yeah, it's great," or "The food is amazing." But what if you said, "I love how restaurants create temporary communities. Look around, all these strangers sharing this space, these smells, this moment. They'll never be together like this again." Suddenly, you've reframed her entire experience of the evening. You've shown her a different way of seeing something familiar. That kind of perspective shift is mentally addictive. Here's the psychology. Novelty triggers dopamine release in the brain. When you consistently offer her new ways of thinking, seeing, or experiencing the world, you become associated with intellectual pleasure. Her mind starts craving your perspective because you make familiar things fresh. The key is authenticity. This isn't about performing intelligence or saying random deep things. It's about genuinely seeing the world through your own unique lens and sharing those observations naturally. When her mind can't quite predict where you're going next, she wants to stick around to find out. Here's the fifth psychological trigger, and it's counterintuitive: your ability to let her convince herself. Most men think they need to sell themselves. They talk, explain, convince, persuade. They list their accomplishments, share their philosophies, demonstrate their value. But here's what psychology reveals. People are most committed to decisions they feel they made themselves. Women rarely decide while you're talking. They decide while they're talking. When you create space for her to express herself, to share her thoughts, to work through her own mental process out loud, something powerful happens. She talks herself into attraction. This is what psychologists call self-persuasion. When someone hears themselves express positive thoughts about you, it reinforces those feelings more strongly than if you had tried to convince them of the same things. But here's the crucial part. This isn't about being passive or having nothing to say. It's about strategic listening. When you ask the right questions, when you give her space to explore her own thoughts, when you resist the urge to fill every silence with your own agenda, you create room for her attraction to grow organically. I remember a client who was constantly trying to impress women with stories about his business success, his travels, his achievements. Women would listen politely but never seemed deeply engaged. When he shifted to asking more questions and genuinely listening to the answers, everything changed. Instead of telling her about his interesting life, he discovered her interesting thoughts. Instead of performing his attractiveness, he created space for her to feel attractive, to herself, in his presence. Here's what happens neurologically. When someone feels heard and understood, it triggers the release of oxytocin, the bonding hormone. She starts associating you with feeling seen, valued, intellectually stimulated, and that association becomes the foundation of deeper attraction. The paradox is this: the less you try to convince her you're worth her time, the more valuable your time feels to her. When you're not desperately trying to prove your worth, she has space to discover it herself. This doesn't mean being mysterious or withholding. It means being genuinely curious about her inner world and creating space for her to share it. Because when she feels like her most interesting self around you, she'll want to keep feeling that way. Here's the final and most powerful psychological trigger: whether she feels like her best self in your presence. This is the ultimate test that determines everything. Not whether you're impressive, not whether you're attractive, not whether you're successful. The question her subconscious mind is asking is, do I like who I am when I'm with this person? If in your presence she feels funnier, smarter, more confident, more alive, if you bring out qualities in her that she loves about herself, then she will associate you with her peak emotional states. And when she wants to feel that way again, she'll naturally want to be close to you. This is what separates truly magnetic men from men who are just temporarily interesting. Anyone can entertain someone for an evening. But the man who makes a woman feel like her most authentic, vibrant self, that man becomes irreplaceable. This happens through what psychologists call reflected appraisal. How we see ourselves is heavily influenced by how we think others see us. When you see and appreciate qualities in her that others miss or take for granted, when you create space for her best traits to emerge, you literally help her become a better version of herself. But here's the key. This can't be fake or manipulative. You can't pretend to see greatness in her if you don't genuinely appreciate her unique qualities. This is about developing the ability to see and appreciate the best in people authentically. When a woman feels like her most interesting, attractive, confident self around you, the decision about intimacy isn't even a decision anymore. It's a natural expression of wanting to share her best self with the person who helped her access it. So here's your challenge. For the next week, forget everything you think you know about impressing women. Instead, focus on these 6 psychological triggers. Stay grounded when things get uncomfortable. Treat everyone with consistent character. Own your physical presence without apology. Surprise her mind with genuine insights. Create space for her to convince herself. Help her feel like her best self, but remember, these aren't techniques to perform. They're qualities to embody. The goal isn't to trick someone into being attracted to you. It's to become the kind of man who naturally generates genuine attraction. Because when you understand what she's really evaluating, when you develop these qualities authentically, you don't have to wonder whether she's interested. You don't have to decode signals or play games. She'll make it clear, not through words, but through the way she looks at you, the way she finds reasons to be close, the way she creates opportunities for more intimacy. Start with one trigger. Master it, then move to the next. Because the man who embodies all 6 doesn't just attract women, He becomes irresistible to the right woman. Your transformation starts now.